It's as if Donald Trump himself feels let down by it all.
I've decided to terminate the planned summit in Singapore on June 12th.
Restrained, at times seeming to flatter Kim Jong-un. Trump noted the wonderful dialogue that had been building between the two. But the president's bottom line, it's now inappropriate to move forward.
I believe that this is a tremendous setback for North Korea and indeed a setback for the world.
In a letter to Kim today, Trump cited tremendous anger and open hostility from that country lately. He wasn't specific, but a senior North Korean official this week called Mike Pence a political dummy, while as well hinting at a nuclear-to-nuclear showdown. Warned Trump today, don't be reckless, North Korea. The U.S. has massive and powerful nuclear weaponry, which, in his words, he prays to God will never have to be used. But if pressed into using force,
we are more ready than we have ever been before.
So what happened between these two? After all, there'd been weeks of positive signals from Kim agreeing to meet Trump for that summit in Singapore. Then came the release of those American hostages. And today, in a remarkable signal of apparent goodwill, North Korea claimed it had destroyed one of its nuclear facilities. And yet, lately, a souring. Kim's people are said to have suddenly disengaged with Americans planning the summit. And then came those renewed threats and insults and a perplexed White House turned skittish. The reignited rhetoric brings the question, are the two countries once set to make historic peace now at risk of war?
Well, we'll see what happens. I hope that we'll continue onward. We'll see.
At the end of that letter Trump sent to Kim, he writes, if you change your mind, please do not hesitate to call me or write. Tonight, North Korea responded, it's ready to meet anytime. Paul Hunter, CBC News, Washington.
Now, Paul mentioned that apparent dismantling of a nuclear test site in North Korea today. And Kim Jong-un wanted to ensure cameras were rolling as it happened. About 24 foreign journalists were handpicked to witness the carefully planned display. They watched the explosions of several tunnels from a distance, but there are questions about whether the site was actually taken completely offline. No independent nuclear weapons inspectors were invited to verify the site's destruction. And it's also not clear if the explosions did enough damage to ensure it can't be brought back online. CBC News Asia correspondent Sasha Petrusik is in Seoul tonight. So, Sasha, what's the reaction been in South Korea?
Well, it has been one of shock and surprise. I mean, this country obviously is the closest to North Korea, arguably in the biggest danger if anything goes horribly wrong. They have been watching this very, very closely with a great deal of optimism as well. Officially, the reaction was one of surprise. Of course, the president of South Korea, Moon Jae-in, held an emergency meeting at midnight here. Clearly, he was really blindsided by all of this. It seemed he didn't really know what was going to happen. He came out and he said that he was perplexed at Donald Trump's decision and he found it regrettable. He said this was the time and the place to solve this problem and that waiting would not do anything like that. On the streets, there was also a great deal of surprise. The news was filtering through Seoul as people headed to work. This man hadn't heard. It's canceled. That's disappointing, he says. But I predict the summit will still be held and can be a foundation for world peace. The optimism that's been building in South Korea lingered with some. It's not like they said they don't want to do this, she says, so it can still go well. Others expected things to get more dangerous. Now that the talks broke down, North Korea will have to take action to bring America back to the table, like launching missiles, he says. The main role should be played by North and South Korea, he says. We shouldn't count on other countries to influence us or act for us, like the U.S.
And Sasha, outside the Koreas, you think of China and Japan that have stakes in peace talks going forward. What do you think their next moves could be?
Well, China obviously is watching this very closely. Donald Trump accused China of meddling, not in so many words, but essentially that was it. He accused China of pushing North Korea the wrong direction, perhaps away from these talks, because it wasn't going well, and that came after two meetings that Kim Jong-un had with the Chinese president. Japan is also in an interesting position here. It is the only country in the region that has actually experienced some of North Korea's missiles flying overhead. The emergency sirens have gone off. People have run to the shelters. They are not looking forward to this happening all over again. And while they want everybody, including the United States, to be tough on North Korea, there's a great deal of trepidation there. I have to add one more thing, though. Inside the Koreas themselves, we have been hearing from North Korea, and it issued a statement earlier today that said that with magnanimous and open mind, we are willing to give America another time and opportunity. Very different tone from what we've been hearing over the past few days from those messages that Donald Trump said forced him to cancel the summit.
Absolutely. Sasha Petrusik in Seoul tonight. Thanks.